84% of people have never used AI. So why is this such a big deal? Why are our electricity bills increasing substantially, and why is everyone in your class taking notes with Notebook LLM? Welcome back to the PFPod, the podcast where we break down the action, strategy, and excitement of robotics competitions like FIRST and beyond. From last-minute pit fixes to championship-winning plays, we're here to talk about what makes robotics more than just a competition. Whether you're a builder, coder, driver, or just love the energy of a great event, we've got stories, insights, and maybe a few battle scars to share. So let's gear up, dive in, and talk about the world of competitive robotics. Hi, I'm Sam. I study environmental science here at Purdue, and I've technically been involved with FIRST for over a decade, which is cool. The PFPod wants to start finding real-life applications of robotics and sharing it with you guys. So in this episode, I will try to go through this very complex topic, but I will try my best to present artificial intelligence, or AI, in an educational format. I'll explain a brief history, the different categories of AI, the environmental impacts, and kind of how you can adapt to that. And this episode was entirely researched and written without the use of AI, and all of our sources can be found on PurdueFirst.org. In full honesty, this technology is so new that it is under-researched, but I did try my best to find peer-reviewed or trustworthy sources so that I can thoroughly explain to all of you wonderful listeners. We encourage you to go do your own research, but if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email media.purduefirst@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at Purdue FIRST. All of these links will be down in the description. So the first mention of AI can be dated back to 1726, when Jonathan Swift wrote Gulliver's Travels, which he introduced the engine, which helps scholars create new ideas by turning a wooden handle. While this was just an idea at the time, we're seeing this kind of manifest now, 300 years later. By 1914, Leonardo Torres y Quevedo used electromagnets to create the first chess-playing machine, fully automated. Through the 1950s, robot and computer innovation continued to advance. In 1943, neuroscience was researched, which set up the frame of artificial neural networks for modern AI. This was first tested in 1951 with the Stochastic Neural Analog Reinforcement Calculator, or SNARC, which essentially recreated the human's brain's learning process through reinforcement learning. Finally, in 1955, the term artificial intelligence was first used at Dartmouth. Over the next decade, lots of computer processing research and algorithm research was performed. In 1965, I.J. Good writes Speculations Concerning the First Ultra-Intelligent Machine, which states that once superintelligent AI is created, it will be humanity's last invention. A little bit grim, but moving forward. There continues to be more research in computers understanding complex instructions and used in assisting professionals. One example, in 1971, doctors at Stanford used an AI to recommend antibiotics, but it wasn't implemented for ethical and legal reasons. By 1995, Alice was the first chatbot developed to use data from the World Wide Web instead of just using scripted responses like the chatbot Eliza was initially coded for. You remember that chess bot I just mentioned back from 1914? Well, by 1997, IBM designed Deep Blue, which was an AI chess world champion, and officially demonstrated that AI can outperform humans in strategy. And entering into the 21st century, robots have started to develop to learn human behaviors and respond to emotions. Technology begins to advance, and by 2009, multi-core CPUs are replaced with GPUs, which are better for deep learning tasks necessary for AI training. In 2011, an AI performed on Jeopardy, and Siri was launched on Apple products. By 2020, OpenAI released GPT-3, one of the largest LLMs in the world with over 175 billion parameters. Currently, modern AI models continue to be developed and released, open for public use. As it can generate human-like content, ethical concerns are ever prevalent. You likely see AI ads on every website and app you open, whether or not you want them to be there, but since AI is everywhere, it's important to understand it. To understand AI, it's important to know the different types. The first and most common is narrow AI, or weak AI. Narrow AI is designed to learn a specific task and perform within a defined scope. It is unable to create new decisions on its own, and some examples might be facial recognition technology, spam filters on Gmail, or optical sorters at a recycling plant. This is the kind of AI you see and likely use every single day. Narrow AI does have some drawbacks, such as its limited scope, and it has difficulties understanding context since it isn't human, and there are ethical concerns about data collection. Since there's less humans involved in the decision-making process, it also eliminates ethics and responsibility. But despite all of this, there's a reason that it's seen everywhere. Narrow AI is extremely efficient, able to process large data sets quickly while automating daily tasks, and can often be personalized. That makes our lives easier. Another type of AI which sort of exists is general or strong AI. General AI are machines that can think, learn, and apply knowledge to a variety of tasks. For narrow AI to transition into general AI, it first has to master visual perception, audio perception, fine motor skills, problem-solving, navigation, creativity, social and emotional engagement. Essentially, it needs to be trained to understand and replicate humans better than it does now. Possible applications include customer service, better self-driving cars, medical history analysis, and personal educational tutoring. Another type is superintelligent AI. This doesn't currently exist at the moment, and some scientists claim that it never will. Others claim what I.J. Good claimed, which is this will be the last technology humanity invents. It's only hypothetical at this stage, but it aims to surpass human intelligence. It should be capable of thinking, innovating, and reasoning beyond human achievement. Think of droids in Star Wars. Robots, but they all have personalities and their own thoughts. Some can see superintelligent AI as a necessary innovation, as it could solve complex problems we face like creating life-saving medicines or even defusing bombs. However, there are fears of potential warfare, complete loss of jobs, and therefore social and economic turmoil, and they could even possibly exacerbate current inequalities. The last type I'll explain is generative AI. Technically, this isn't a category like the other three I've mentioned, but it's likely the AI you're most familiar with. Gen AI is the reason I say general AI sort of exists. While it's technically a form of narrow AI, since you have to give it specific parameters or a prompt, as you may know it, it has to follow those instructions, but it's considered an important stepping stone to general AI. And so generative AI is able to create new content and is capable of what some may call creativity, but it's only based on the sources that it's given. So input to output, but it isn't necessarily unique in its roots. Gen AI is typically a large language model, or an LLM. This means it's given data, uses a transformer that handles the word sequences to capture patterns and break the text into tokens, which then standardizes the language and learns semantic associations. Gen AI applications usually consist of content creation, conversational chatbots like ChatGPT or Claude, or code generation. Drawbacks include ethical concerns of data collection and our rights to privacy being overlooked, but Gen AI has such a wide range of applications and training is flexible. It's also efficient enough for most people to overlook mistakes and just kind of use it to complete tedious tasks like performing a grammar check on their essay or just fully writing it for them. By using AI in everyday tasks, you are showing these companies you demand their product, and they will continue to supply it. So why is this important? I'll explain general and global impacts momentarily, but first let me explain to you how this is impacting our community here at Purdue. I personally know many students and even professors that use AI for daily tasks or schoolwork. I know for a fact many FIRST students have used AI to assist their learning process as well, especially with coding. Learning AI literacy is encouraged and important to a future of technology. With this increased demand, however, Indiana has begun to sign many deals with companies such as Google, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft to build data centers across our state. First, what is a data center? So data centers are large windowless warehouses that store computers and servers to process and manage large amounts of data. These are typically considered the cloud. When you use energy online, that is data, which is then stored in these warehouses. So the Indiana government is profiting off of these data centers, unaware of the impacts that this will have across the state. Currently, it's estimated that these AI data centers just in northern Indiana will use more electricity by 2030 than all 6.8 million Hoosiers use at home today. Since 2024, there's already been a $28 increase in monthly electric bills across the state, and this will just continue to rise. These AI data centers also contribute to intense air pollution, noise pollution, and water consumption, especially by the Great Lakes. Now, I'm sure that you've heard AI uses water before. The exact numbers on how many water bottles worth of water your prompt used has been so many different numbers across the past few years, so instead of me trying to explain your individual impact, I'm going to try to focus on the bigger picture. So first, let me provide some context. On a foundational level, the water cycle is a closed loop. Water in the cracks of the pores of Earth, groundwater, move up towards the surface of the ground, which they're then evaporated and they condensate or transpire, and then they precipitate and either end up back in the surface water or groundwater again. This process can take thousands of years for a single water droplet, and with human intervention, it's only taking longer. Since only 2.5% of Earth's water is freshwater, we take this water, we drink it, use it, treat it, misplace it, and often reroute it to the salty ocean. Since we use so much of this water, we've begun to overdraw the fresh water in our aquifers. Due to this, the United Nations has officially announced we've entered an era of global water bankruptcy. Although I want to make it clear that at least in 2021, 72% of water use was from agriculture, but it's been 5 years of extreme innovation and growth and usage of AI, and that 12% industrial usage could be significantly increased. This is assumed from the International Energy Agency, or the IEA, who estimated in 2024 that global data centers were responsible for 560 billion liters of water consumption in 2023, possibly surpassing 1.2 trillion liters by 2030. 4 billion people already face severe water scarcity at least 1 month every year. And in 2022-2023, 1.8 billion people live under drought conditions, and currently 2.2 billion people lack safe drinking water. The people most often impacted by these issues are low-income urban residents, women, youth, indigenous peoples, and smallholder farmers. So even if you aren't feeling these impacts personally, I promise you that billions of people are. There are many other impacts, such as ecosystem and biodiversity loss from wetlands and other environmental impacts. And again, most water loss is coming from agriculture, but it's being exacerbated by data centers, and it's even starting to take water from the agricultural sector. So you might be wondering, how do data centers play a role in this? When energy is consumed, it releases heat, so data centers get hot. Data center cooling systems are typically designed by pulling in fresh water, which pulls the heat out of the units, which then gets pumped to radiators with fans that cool the water back down, and then they repeat. Data centers also use water to control humidity by evaporating water to prevent static electricity in the air, which is not good for computers. Some people wonder, why don't we just use salt water for this process? We have so much of it, there's oceans everywhere. Unfortunately, it's just a maintenance problem. Salt will corrode and clog pipes, which will end up costing more in the long run. It's difficult to accurately measure the water footprint of AI and data centers, since consumption is both used to cool data centers while also being consumed in the process of generating electricity, as well as inaccurate data and energy usage reporting playing a role. However, we know that some data centers have proposed using more water per day than an entire county uses just for its cooling systems. This introduces issues in infrastructure and even concerns of water rationing. One example of this was found in Newton County, Georgia. Another environmental concern I notice is never really discussed about AI are the carbon emissions. So in 2022, the world produced 62 million tons of e-waste, which leaches toxic materials into soil and water, further harming the environment and human health. While not all of this comes from AI will eventually continue to contribute to this problem as its machines get used. Producing data centers also takes precious materials and has other mining impacts. For a 2-kilogram computer, it takes about 800 kilograms of raw material to create, but for contrast, a singular AI rack, which holds servers, is around 1,600 kilograms, so it should take around 640,000 kilograms of raw materials to create. GPUs and specialized chips also require lithium, cobalt, nickel, and more precious materials. Mining for these materials often leads to deforestation, water pollution, and soil degradation. You also get the whole human rights issues playing a role in large-scale mining. Simply gathering the resources to make these data centers is increasing carbon release. It's believed that by 2030, AI power usage will increase to 50% of global electricity usage, according to the IEA. This intense use of electricity and power is often powered by fossil fuels, like oil, coal, and gas. Mining these items alone produces a carbon footprint. Back to the mining impacts mentioned earlier, the burning of these resources to produce power releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which warms the planet. So I really don't mean to stress you out any further with everything else going out on the world right now, but as I've been talking about, AI impacts are intense, and they will just continue to grow stronger as we continue to use AI. So if you can, turn it off. Adjust your privacy settings so websites can no longer collect your data to train AI models. Use pre-existing sources and learn how to research a topic on your own. Yes, it may take more time, but if you have the time, why not spend it learning something new? Learn to develop your critical thinking and communication skills without using a chatbot. Reach out to your professor for office hours or spend 10 minutes brainstorming on your own. Scroll past AI-created content online to readjust the algorithm. Show these companies you don't want to support this product. If you're interested in fighting for Indiana's residents' rights to clean air and water access, please go to the website that I've linked in the description down below to send a pre-written email to our state legislators. This is not sponsored, but you can also call or email them yourselves. You can also do this in your home state or maybe even home country too. As awesome as it is to have a little secretary that will follow your prompts, the impacts of AI are on such a large scale that it's difficult to imagine its impacts until you begin to experience them yourself. and it's important to learn new technologies as they integrate into our world. PFP will not tell you what to do, and I will not tell you what to do, but we do encourage community, and an important aspect of community is helping each other out and becoming involved in your state's politics. Use your voice and be confident about your own work. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned something in this episode, and I promise we'll be back with a lot more lighthearted episode in the future. I know that this is a pretty heavy topic, but PF parting is such sweet sorrow, and we'll see you soon.